The Journey of Marcus and the Wisdom of Janus. In the ancient city of Rome, when the streets were paved with marble and the air was filled with the scent of burning incense, there lived a young man named Marcus. He was a stonemason by trade, his hands hardened by years of carving monuments to the gods. Yet unlike his peers, Marcus carried a peculiar burden, a restlessness that no physical labor could cure. He was haunted by the feeling of being stuck between two worlds, his past tethering him while the future loomed uncertain and distant. One fateful morning, as the first rays of sunlight kissed the Grand Forum, Marcus found himself before the temple of Janus. The double-faced god was an enigma to him, his visage etched onto the temple gates, one face serene, gazing back at what was, the other sharp and curious, peering into what might be. Marcus had passed the temple many times, yet on this day, an unexplainable pull made him linger. Inside the temple, silence reigned. Marcus approached the altar, where offerings of honey and wine lay untouched. He knelt, his head bowed low. "Janus," he whispered, his voice trembling, "I stand at a crossroads in my life. The weight of my past anchors me, yet the uncertainty of the future terrifies me. Grant me your wisdom, if only for a moment, so I may see the path ahead." To Marcus's astonishment, the flickering torchlight dimmed, and a voice, neither harsh nor gentle, filled the chamber. "Marcus," it said, "you have called, and I have come. What you seek is not easily given, for the wisdom you desire lies in the journey itself." Turning, Marcus saw a figure emerge from the shadows, a man with two faces, one ancient and weathered, the other youthful and vibrant. "You wish to understand your place in the world?" asked Janus, his voice resonating with the weight of time. Marcus nodded, his heart pounding. "Then come," said the god, extending a hand. "But know this, what I will show you cannot be undone." Without hesitation, Marcus took Janus's hand, and the world dissolved around him. In an instant, Marcus found himself standing in the midst of his childhood. He saw his younger self, barefoot and carefree, playing in the fields beyond the city walls. His late mother, whose laughter he had nearly forgotten, called out to him. Marcus's heart ached as he reached for her, but his hand passed through her form like mist. "Do you see now, Marcus? The past is a place of comfort, but it is no longer yours to hold." Before Marcus could reply, the scene shifted. "This was the moment you doubted your craft," Janus said. "Do you remember? You abandoned the work, convinced it was flawed beyond repair." Marcus nodded, ashamed. "And yet," Janus continued, "it is in imperfection that we find growth." The scene blurred again, and Marcus was thrust into a vision of the future. He stood in a grand hall, older and grayer, his hands resting on the shoulders of a young apprentice. "This is what awaits you," Janus said, "a legacy built not by perfection, but by persistence. The mistakes you fear will become the foundation of your wisdom." Marcus turned to Janus, his voice breaking. "But how can I move forward, knowing the pain of the past and the uncertainty of what lies ahead?" Janus's youthful face smiled. "Life is a doorway, Marcus. You cannot linger on the threshold forever. To live is to step forward, not with certainty, but with courage." As the vision faded, Marcus found himself back in the temple, alone once more. The air was still, the only sound the distant hum of the city. Yet something within him had shifted. The restlessness that had plagued him was gone, replaced by a quiet resolve. In the days that followed, Marcus returned to his workshop. He resumed the statue he had abandoned, his hands steady, his heart lighter. Though the marble still bore the marks of his earlier mistakes, he saw beauty in its imperfections. Word of Marcus's work spread throughout Rome, and soon he was sought after by senators and generals alike. Yet he remained humble, his gaze often lingering on the horizon, as if searching for the two-faced God who had guided him. Years later, on the first day of January, Marcus stood before the temple of Janus once more. This time, he came not as a supplicant, but as a man at peace. He laid a small carving, a simple door, delicately wrought, at the altar. "Thank you," he whispered. Though the temple was silent, Marcus felt the faintest brush of warmth on his shoulder, as if a hand had rested there for just a moment. He smiled, his heart full. He turned and walked away, ready to face whatever lay beyond the next threshold. The story of Marcus and Janus became a tale passed down through generations, a reminder of the power of beginnings and endings. For Janus, the god of transitions, does not grant easy answers. Instead, he offers the courage to step forward, to face the unknown with faith in one's own journey. And so, the tale teaches us that life, like the doorways Janus guards, is meant to be crossed. To stand still is to linger in shadow, but to move forward is to embrace the light of possibility.